you know, individuals who make mistakes should face the appropriate sanction for those mistakes. I face sanction for those mistakes. But they should also be allowed to atone and not be defined solely by those mistakes. Initially, what I perceived as a process that had presented me in a way that I didn't feel was an accurate reflection of who I am as an individual. And it pushed me very close to doing something profoundly regrettable. I didn't go there, but I very nearly did.
Well, that's Mark Mcdonald, former SNP MSP and government minister. He's still an MSP. He'll resign at the next Parliament. But he was chopped by the SNP. Let's have a look at what his misdemeanour was. Well, there's this thing first. A woman claimed that she mysteriously woke up in his hotel bedroom. I think she'd been so drunk she couldn't sort of get herself home, and she ended up staying in his hotel bedroom. I think at the time he was a married man. That's a bit vague, but he seemed to be married. So then that shouldn't really have happened. But that's not the incident that landed him in hot water with the SNP. It was this. He was basically trying to arrange a date, trying to arrange a meeting in any case, with a female member of staff in the Parliament. And she declined his invitation twice. So this says Twitter messages, cutting me deep. He said, that's twice you've dinghied me. Dinghied means rejected, if you didn't know. It's okay though, I understand. Okay, seems fine. I'm not sure if he was married at this point. I can't quite pin that down. But anyway, he then sent a message saying, my phone wanted to autocorrect dinghied to fingered there, which I'm glad I noticed before I sent the message, then a red-faced emoji. As embarrassed. If he wasn't embarrassed, then he wouldn't have put it in the tweets to tell her about. But anyway, so that's the exchange of messages that took place. So what we've got there basically is he makes a sexual joke, and in that context where he'd been trying to sort of arrange a date, to bring sex into that, it would make someone feel uncomfortable. It's suggestive of his state of mind when he's trying to arrange a meeting with this woman. Now, in our society, we've got something of an inhibition on talking about sex. It's actually in every society. But some people of the progressive persuasion, their mission is to break down these inhibitions. There should be no taboo about talking about sex. We should be as open and frank as we are talking about the weather. But actually, I'm not so sure. Maybe if that inhibition had been a bit stronger with Mark Mcdonald, this wouldn't have happened. Now, as far as I'm concerned, looking at that incident, I think he shouldn't have said that. It's quite understandable that the woman would have thought, that's not really right, and maybe raise the issue. But is it really that serious? Surely a rap on the knuckles would have been adequate in that situation. But Mark Mcdonald picked the wrong time for this to happen. This was at the height of the Me Too movement, Harvey Weinstein's story coming out. So Mark Mcdonald was fired from the SNP. This is around the time when John Swinney stood up and ate humble pie on behalf of all men, made a sorry spectacle of himself, debasing himself on the instruction of his female supremacist colleagues. Remember this?
Presiding Officer, I'd like to explain first of all why I am answering this question when normally it would fall to the Equalities Cabinet Secretary Angela Constance. The Government wants to make clear that it is the conduct and behaviour of men that needs to change. Therefore, as the most senior male minister in the Scottish Government, I wanted to answer this question and to make clear that it's up to men to make these changes, and men must examine their own behaviour.
So Mark Mcdonald's crime was to send an inappropriate joke at the wrong time. And I think actually he got quite a raw deal. I think he was treated unfairly. I think he was sacrificed on the altar of SNP public relations to appease gender warriors. Now, in the clip I showed you at the beginning, I was talking about the personal effect it had on him. I'm going to talk about that issue towards the end of the video, but we'll leave that for now. Just by way of comparison, a quick recall of the Derek Mackay situation. He sent 270 texts to a 16-year-old boy, called him cute. It turned out later he'd sent other messages to a 25-year-old SNP activist, asking for naughty pictures of himself. Now, it was quite right that Derek Mackay went. I mean, he resigned. When he resigned, obviously, he would have been chopped if he hadn't done so. Same with Mark Mcdonald as well. Now, what was the problem with what Derek Mackay did? This boy was over 16, over the age of consent. So what's the problem? The problem was he's still very young. The problem is the status gap. The problem is Derek Mackay pestering this boy, despite the lack of reciprocation. And so the outcome there, quite right. He had to go. What I'm doing in this video, I'm not just trying to sling the SNP's mud back at it. I'm trying to look at the value system of the SNP, trying to look at the moral culture that exists within the hierarchy of the party. So now move on to another case. This is Angus MacNeil, the MP for the Western Isles. The MP's own weaknesses were exposed at the weekend when two young girls talked about their booze-filled, heavy petting session with him after Cayley on Shetland in 2005. Jude Morrison, who was 17 at the time, told how MacNeil brought drinks in the hotel for her and her pal, then 18. She added, "We got to his room and we all ended up in one bed. We were having a giggle and he was being very suggestive. We took off some of his clothes and I was sitting on the end of the bed and Gertrude was lying beside him in the bed. I did heavy petting and I kissed him. We both did that with him. I kissed and cuddled and fondled him. There was heavy petting and kissing." The girls said they were too drunk to have full sex with the MP. MacNeil, 36, said, "Yes, some foolishness took place at the post-Cayley party, which was wrong and stupid. There's no allegation that anything further happened, and I wish to make that absolutely clear. It was a lapse of judgment 2 years ago, for which I'm sorry. I bitterly regret this incident occurred, and I apologise to my family for causing them embarrassment and hurt." Too right. "I also apologise to the young women involved and their families. I should really have known much better." You can say that again. Senior SNP source claimed that MacNeil's admission of guilt would not save his job as MP for the God-fearing Western Isles. Well, incorrect. He is still the MP for the Western Isles. So let's just think about things here. Mark Mcdonald sent a sort of vulgar joke to female member of staff in the Parliament. Chopped. Gone. Derek Mackay sent text messages, unsolicited text messages to a 16-year-old boy, the most damning of which called the boy cute. Gone. Quite rightly. Angus MacNeil buys drinks for a 17 and 18-year-old girl, gets them in his hotel bedroom, engaging in sexual activity. The girl's 17, 1 year older than the boy Derek Mackay was text messaging. Can someone please explain to me the SNP's moral logic that leads to these outcomes? How can it possibly be that Mark Mcdonald loses his job while Angus MacNeil is still in his job? Answers in the comments below, please. What else do we have from Mr. MacNeil? He had an affair in London. Senior SNP figure repeatedly claimed expenses for luxury room where he indulged in extramarital affair with lover. Since split up with his wife, and then this woman went on to have an affair with another SNP MP. So what we find out about Angus MacNeil again here: a lack of integrity, doesn't keep promises, a cheat and a liar. Does that matter? It seems not. Angus MacNeil's behaviour in the House of Commons has been boorish and infantile as well. A little video clip here. Michael Gove speaking. Angus MacNeil wants to make an intervention, so he stands up, and the idea is that you ask for permission to say something. Michael Gove is declining that, so Angus MacNeil just starts speaking in any case while Michael Gove is still speaking. The speaker tells him off in no uncertain terms, and then Angus MacNeil stands to his feet and starts trying to talk again. You can hear the groans from the other MPs in the Parliament.
No. It is the case that the Labour Party is now committed to a second referendum, and indeed there's been no more impressive advocate of that position than the Honourable Gentleman. No. No, nay, never.
Order. Well, the Secretary of State's made the position clear. Let me conduct the very briefest of tutorials for the benefit of the illustrious chair of the International Trade Select Committee of the House of Commons. It is unseemly, to the point of being disorderly, to try to speak one's intervention by mouthing it before permission has been given to undertake it. It is a point that is so blindingly obvious that, as I often observe, only an extraordinarily sophisticated person, possibly from Manhelian and Yar, could fail to grasp it. Secretary of State.
And here's another clip.
We'll leave it there if there are no further points of... Point of order. Yes, well, the Honourable Gentleman from Manhelian and Yar looks very happy. Yes, we don't need to hear from him further at this time. Yes, I know. No, but I remind the Honourable Gentleman that he also has a cerebral status as the chair of a select committee. and should behave with due decorum to reflect the very high standing he enjoys, possibly in Scotland, but certainly in the House.
So in this one, there is the opportunity to speak. Angus MacNeil asks to, but the Speaker refuses for the reason that Angus MacNeil seems very happy and suggests that he behaves with more decorum. Now, I'll leave you to speculate what state Mr. MacNeil must have been in to be so treated. The most charitable interpretation we can put on this was that Angus MacNeil was being very childish and boisterous in the House of Commons. But to conclude, he is not a suitable figure to be an MP, but the SNP thinks he is. In fact, he was reselected to be the MP yet again in just 2019, a couple of months ago. As I'm making this video, Alex Salmond is standing trial for sexual assault, attempted rape, etc. With some of the charges, his defence is consent. The women consented to the activity that was going on. That might or might not get him off in the court of law, but as far as moral judgment is concerned, that doesn't get you off the hook at all. The fact is, he was being unfaithful to his wife, being a cheat and a liar. I mean, his philandering must have been known very, very widely within the SNP. As far as I'm aware, there's no effort to oust him as a result of it or to expose it, because this sort of thing is just accepted within the SNP. It's no detriment to your career at all, it seems. Well, let's go on to Alex Salmond's successor, Nicola Sturgeon. There have been rumours rife about her private life. Gossip about Miss Sturgeon had been circulating for several years in political circles and on social media, but the claims which her top aides have been aware of have intensified in recent months. The rumours relate to Miss Sturgeon's private life, but details cannot be disclosed for legal reasons. Off the wall. Nicola Sturgeon laps off salacious rumours about exotic double life amid wild gossip at Holyrood and Westminster. The First Minister said, "This sort of exotic double life that I'm supposedly leading is a damn sight more interesting than the actual life I'm leading. It doesn't have a scintilla of truth or basis in reality. It's just so completely off the wall." Okay, if it's so completely off the wall, I don't quite understand why it needs an interdict, an injunction, a legal mechanism to prevent the reporting. Why not just let people publish it and then just sue them? Isn't that what you do when someone's saying something that's not true? I thought interdicts, injunctions were for stopping reporting of things were true. I thought that was the general picture. But the concern is this is something that Nicola Sturgeon would be ashamed of or embarrassed about. I mean, you've probably heard the rumours, so have I. And they are of relevance to her personal integrity. And that's a matter of public interest. A leader's character matters. And a leader's character is shown in their public life, but it's also shown in their personal life. So this is a far from ideal situation with Nicola Sturgeon, and it doesn't reflect well on her at all. Okay, let's move on to Alan Smith. Look at this headline. Gay SNP politician calls colleagues bigots. John Mason tabled a motion last month which says that no one should be forced to approve or be involved with gay marriages. Mr. Smith said, "What is in the small, mean, angry heads of bigots is a matter for them." So in saying that, it has been extremely unpleasant and offensive. Does that matter in the SNP? Of course not. When he finished his time as MEP, he was just given the opportunity straight away to become an MP. Now, Alan Smith's gay. He's got a much younger partner, who's also an SNP activist, Jordan Henderson. And recently it came out that Jordan Henderson implied to be an SNP candidate, but then it came out that he made some very unpleasant and offensive comments on social media against feminists who don't buy the transgender nonsense. And he now won't be selected, it looks like. And that little incident has caused embarrassment for the SNP. But I just say, you reap what you sow. Alan Smith clearly thinks it's okay to be offensive and intolerant, and the SNP says no problem. So can you really be surprised when his partner shares his values with him? Of course not. Standards are important in politics. Which standards? Stable family life. Marriage should be sacrosanct. Honesty and integrity within relationships. Keeping promises. Vows, no less. To the SNP, these things seem irrelevant. To the Scottish Family Party, they are of critical importance because we want to show leadership for the nation in this regard, and the values that a nation embodies in this area are vital to the wider well-being of society. Right, respect. We would not want our representatives being insulting or offensive. We wouldn't want them behaving improperly in Parliament. And this SNP, that doesn't seem to matter. In the Scottish Family Party, it most definitely would. How about the culture of heavy drinking? A lot of these problems, and a lot of others that the SNP have encountered, have been related to a culture of heavy drinking. The Scottish Family Party's policy is to show cultural leadership in this area, pulling in the opposite direction. We certainly wouldn't allow this.
I have to say that I am the only person to be banned from the conference karaoke, and it's mainly because one year I went, and after the karaoke I went out after it, and then I came into conference, so I woke up, oh my God, where am I? Oh, I'm in Aberdeen. What am I in Aberdeen for? Oh, it's conference. Oh, right, I better get to the prep meeting. So I went to the conference prep meeting. I went in, and the First Minister saw me, and she said, "You are stinking of alcohol." I went, "Yep." She said, "No, Derek, you're absolutely reeking." I said, "Yep. You want to know the First Minister? You want to know the truth? I think I'm still drunk." And she said, "You're going to chair conference in that state?" And I went, "Yep." And nobody will notice a thing. And nobody noticed a thing unless you were on the stage and you were intoxicated from the fumes oozing out of my body. So I was banned from the conference karaoke for as long as I was business convener.
Now, at the start of the video, Mark Mcdonald was talking about the distress he experienced. It sounds as though he contemplated suicide while he was facing the allegations going through the disciplinary process. Now, I think that's an interesting point. A few years ago, a good friend of mine faced some sort of allegations and committed suicide immediately. It's very sad. So I think in these situations, people need personal support. If it's a friend of mine experiencing those sort of things, I would be there to talk it through. I would stick with them. I would hope they'd be able to build a new life. No one is irredeemable. But when it comes to politics, that new life should be outside of the political system when the misdemeanor has been particularly serious, as a lot of these ones I've looked at in this video have been. But the question ultimately is, what's best for society? Society where cheating on your wife when you're in the public eye is just seen as okay, it's not a big deal, or a society where that's seen as a serious scar on your character? A society where that's seen as not particularly important, or one where it's seen as a revelation of a serious moral flaw? Now, if, for example, cheating on your wife was seen as a terrible thing to do, a resigning matter, the stigma and professional consequences would really make men in the public eye think twice before engaging in that sort of behaviour. That would save marriages, it would save wives from a lot of hurt and upset, it would save a lot of children from being brought up in broken homes. But more importantly, politicians set an example, they set the tone for the whole of society, and they need to be helping to set a positive standard for the nation. That's the benefit of everyone. Now, if you think what I've been saying there is perfectly sensible, just remember, no other party is saying it. So the Scottish Family Party, we want to bring about change in Scottish politics, not just by our policies, but also by our wider values. And if you want to support that, there's lots of ways you can do it. Below this video, there's a link. You could subscribe to our newsletter. You could subscribe on YouTube. Obviously, there's a link to our Facebook page. If you want to keep up to date with what we're doing on a day-to-day basis, Facebook's the best place to do it. If you'd like to donate, we've got a Patreon account. You can find that below as well. Or best of all, you could actually join us. We're a political party. You can become a member via another link that's below. Thanks for watching.